what I'd like to talk about is the future. I call myself a tour guide to the future. And a lot of people say, but Peter, how the hell can you predict the future? Well, we can't really. What we can do is we can take a look at the weak signals, the changes in the fitness landscape that enable us to create a future or predict a future that could happen. So here's some predictions. In 1 year's time, you'll hear of the lectin-free diet, where you won't touch tomatoes and whole grain and anything that has a seed in it. One of the predictions. We'll talk about quantum cryptography. That'll change the world of communication. And Andriana actually did a PhD in that. But in the next 4 or 5 years, the entire world of communication will change. These are some of the weak signals we detected. And that's what we do in terms of our analysis of the future. We talk about what the future could look like. This is the exploration of the future. The weak signals that are changing our fitness landscape. But most of my work, I focus on how we can unlock the opportunities of the future. How can we leverage these new opportunities that's defining the competitive space? And how do we do that? We actually roll out university-accredited training programs because this is what we do. Innovation consulting in stealth mode. The normal innovation companies come and say, we've got these wonderful ideas, now you go implement them. And what automatically happens at companies, the anti-story kicks in. People say, but I thought of that idea 2 years ago. Now this idiot comes around, you pay him 20 million rand, and I have to implement his ideas. What we do is, we utilize the theories of motivation, namely being self-directed, mastering a new skill, and working towards a higher purpose, the exact same foundation of innovation, and we roll out training programs. This could either be 3 or 4 day masterclasses. We've got an artificial intelligence masterclass, a telecoms masterclass, and we also have 7 other university accredited programs that's got everything to do with innovation management to digital transformation. That's the 3,000 students we sent through our programs through the last 14 odd years, and more than 100 innovation projects where we don't take the credit. We stand behind the scenes and allow the organizations to leverage their capabilities. So that's what we do. We roll out these programs, and that helps us to reframe our value proposition and our business model. Finally, a number of industries are faced with disruption. The problem is that we are utilizing the exact same management techniques that we utilized in a world of predictability. We found our entire mindset on linear systems. What we realized is that the fields of evolutionary biology, of virology, of anthropology guides us to a far higher insight into how to manage organizations where the future is uncertain. And this is a field called complex adaptive systems. Now, what's interesting about the field of complex adaptive systems is it allows us to navigate in an uncertain future. And we normally only talk about this in our academic setting, but I had more than 20 requests for this presentation in the last year. So people are picking up on the fact that we can no longer use old mindsets to navigate in an uncertain space. My name is Pieter Geldenhuys, your tour guide to the future.
Thank you, Peter.
How does my hair look like, Ben?
Your hair looks gorgeous. What can I say? Peter, I think, perhaps one of the things as a company leadership, they're kind of saying, all of this sounds fine, but let's get to the practical how. So I think my first question is, how do we leverage some of these opportunities as we go into the future?
Let's take a simple example. Lectin-free diets. There's huge opportunities for farmers and for Woolies to open up a counter that says, here is easier access to those very difficult to come by foods that support that big trend. And this is based on work done by Stephen Guthrie. It's now the New York Times #8 bestseller. So it's more than a weak signal, it's a kind of a stronger signal, but we're not seeing the South African environment reacting to this, and we can actually assist organizations in adapting to it. The benefit is that based on our programs, companies normally claim back 60% of that cost because our programs are accredited, but we allow the people in the programs to facilitate and interact with the environment to facilitate these changes. And that's what happens. It's not what we do, it's what we allow organizations to do themselves.
So it's actually about building that internal capacity within the company. And Peter, you do this on more than an academic basis. You do this on a practical basis as well. Am I right?
Well, I don't see a difference between the two, but that's exactly how you can describe it, because we do our academic training on site in organizations. So I get invited to talk about the future, what it will look like, and give organizations an idea where the opportunities lie. And once the groups realize that these opportunities are at hand, they say, but what skills do we need to leverage them? And that's where we come in with my team at the Institute, and we assist them in really creating the future. And in order to understand where this is heading, it's about co-creation, because any initiative that you try, we never know if it'll be successful or not in a complex dynamic space. So we talk about probing. Let's try different things, multiple safe-to-fail initiatives, and then we make sense if we have a sense-making technique where we focus on how the market reacts to your probe. But we don't put the filters in place that we use in traditional research. And that's a tremendous amount of the work we do. So it's not only me doing it, we've got an entire team involved, but that's what we do. Okay. We allow people to co-create the future.
And I love that word co-creation, because when we talk about unlocking this innovation potential and navigating into an uncertain world, just finish off with that. How do we, it's a scary world out there. How do we navigate it?
Well, you have to be far more agile, and it means that the competencies you developed over time for other purposes can be accepted or radically repositioned elsewhere. What I normally tell large organizations is, in a changing fitness landscape, you don't want to be anything but the dominant predator. The problem is, can you leverage your competences to such an extent to harness these new opportunities? And that's what we do. We allow them to use their existing competences to harness new opportunities, and that's full parts of our interventions.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going into the future, you need to look for the tour guide who's got his sign up here, and here is your tour guide to the future. Pieter Geldenhuys, thank you so much.